Ohio State's Caleb Downs may be the number one safety in the draft, but Dillon Thieneman is not far behind.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started on today's episode. We're getting into the scouting report for Oregon star safety Dillon Thieneman. We're going to talk about his we're going to explain the grade and give you the NFL comps. We're going to go over the cons, the concerns when it comes to his NFL projection, and then what he does best as a professional, or as his pros rather, going into the NFL. Keith, and I said it in the opening, Keith, Caleb Downs is safety one consensus. I don't think there's much drop off from Caleb Downs to Dillon Thieneman. Like, I really do not.
Bold statement. It's a bold statement.
Yeah, I really do not. I feel like it's a vast of styles of how they play in terms of how you deploy them. Both are super versatile guys. You know what I mean? Which shout out Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning allowed Dillon Thieneman to be showcased in that way, right? When in terms of how he utilized them in 2025 compared to 2024 and 2023, where Dillon Thieneman was playing almost predominantly free safety, like single high, middle of the field close free safety, where he showed that range and speed and athleticism. And then in 2025, Oregon and Dan Lanning said, we're going to use you more as a strong. We're going to do more too high. We're going to rotate you down, play you closer to the box, Keith. When you look at that's why I feel that way. Both are versatile guys, but when you look at the pros to his game, what stands out to you for a Dillon Thieneman?
Yeah, so one, that's the proven athletic profile, right? This young man went to the combine and put down a 4.3, right? So he showed you, listen, don't even worry about questioning it. Yes, I am a high-level athlete, right? I'm one of the better athletes, one of the highest graded as far as athleticism athletes of the defensive backs in this draft class, right? Like that's where he placed himself at. So I think it's the athleticism. And when you have the athleticism, DP, it's usually tied to versatility, but Dillon also has proven versatility. It's not something that you have to project that he can do on the next level, right? It's proven. He did it at Purdue, he did it at Oregon, right? And they were two different situations, playing at Purdue, playing at Oregon, right? As far as his alignments. This is a young man for me that can play strong, he can play free, he can play nickel for you if you want him to. So I look at the athleticism and athleticism directly tied to his versatility as a defensive back, being able to play all over the field and do different things.
No, 100%. I agree with you. And I think that's one of my top things as well, is that athleticism. Like I said, going back to Purdue, I think they might have been playing Notre Dame, or they were playing somebody, and he was at free safety about 15, 20 yards back, lined up, right? He's the last line of defense. The quarterback scrambles, and the way he was able to he didn't allow the quarterback, and it was athletic. I think it might have been Riley Leonard. And he triggered downhill, and his closing speed and his range was so legitimate. Like, he got from point A to point B in a hurry. And you're talking about cutting, especially against athletic quarterbacks, and we know, I mean, heck, I'm pretty sure it was Riley Leonard. We watched Riley Leonard gash Ohio State. You know what I mean? We watched him that year in 2024 when they made it to the national championship game. We watched that guy be able to hurt teams with his legs game in and game out, and to watch Dillon Thieneman trigger downhill from 20 yards off from the line of scrimmage, close the space. I think it might have been only maybe a 4-yard gain for the quarterback. And the thing about the fact that it's only a 4-yard gain, because Dillon Thieneman was able to get there and showcase that 4.3 speed. But then not only that, like, I think he's technically sound in terms of his back pedal. When he has to back pedal, he's got good hips. He can flip and turn and run with guys and cover ground. And to me, I felt like watching him in Purdue, they utilized him as trying to be an eraser of the deep ball and of explosive plays by himself. And in the NFL, you don't have to do that because teams are living more in too high safety shells anyway, and more middle of the field open unless they're more running cover 3. So I think that versatility of where he can align, but then the instincts. Remember the interception against Drew out.
Yep. That's what I was going to go with. The instincts next. Yep.
The instincts are there. The ball skills are there for him, Keith. I think on the season, I think PFF had him with 2 interceptions. He had 4 pass breakups, and that's just this year. You go back just over his career when he was at Purdue, he had 6 pass breakups in 2024. 2023, he had 6 interceptions. So this is a guy that can absolutely take the ball away and make plays on the ball if you put him in the position to do so. Again, with Oregon, he was more used as a, extra person in the run game, that low hole defender that we're running zones, we're keeping you underneath, take that tight end, trap that running back out of the backfield, just hover. He's more of that kind of a robber technique, hover and rover type of safety, in my opinion, than just a guy that, go get the ball and make plays on the ball at the same time. So I think this is a dude similar. Like I said, Caleb Downs does a lot of the same things, right? Caleb Downs Caleb predominantly plays more so in the box than deep. Athletically, that's why I think we don't talk about it enough between the two, is both of these guys are instinctive players. They're high instinct players, but I always give the edge to the guy that has the instincts, but also is an elite athlete. And when you look at Dillon Thieneman, he's got the elite athleticism, and he has the really great instincts to read, diagnose, trigger, things of that nature. Where I look at Caleb, I'm like, great instincts. Caleb tackles better, but I question the athleticism, be able to turn and run with guys and have that type of speed. Because if you had that type of speed, we would have seen you playing on the top of the box as a free safety a little bit more often than you did.
Yeah, I look at Dillon Thieneman, and you know who I think of this? Was he in last year's draft? I believe he was in last year's draft. The Ravens drafted him. Reminds me of Malachi Starks. Very similar height, weight, and then being in what Malachi did playing the free safety position. But also, we were very impressed when Malachi stepped into the middle of the field, right? And kind of, I guess he was closing downhill, but against passing concepts, right? Like if it was, different concepts that in breakers, things like that. And the instincts for me, DP, with Dillon Thieneman, to me is 2 things. I think he's a quick trigger when he's playing from depth to blow up screen plays and things like that, right? Like just kind of playing on the perimeter. I thought he was a quick trigger for that. And then also when it came down to in passing concepts, right? When he was playing at depth and he can read everything in front of him. I thought he did a really good job of anticipating where the quarterback was going with the football. I thought he did a very good job of that, especially in zone defense, right? Like if he was the cover, if you're playing cover 3 or something like that, right? And then he has to be the guy that walked down to the kind of that hook curl. I think he's really comfortable doing that, right? He's really comfortable doing that, and he understands how to bait quarterbacks into specific throws. So I thought that part was impressive for me also.
No, 100%. And I want to, I didn't get a chance to, we jumped right in. Dillon Thieneman is listed at 6 foot, 201 pounds. You know what I mean? I think I'm about to be 22 years old. I think 3 years of starting experience. I think this is a guy that's a chess piece to a defense. Again, that's why, everything I'm saying when it comes down to pertaining to him and Caleb Downs is no knock to Caleb Downs, guys. I love Caleb Downs. He's the number 1 player on our board. But as I got back into the film, really dove into Dillon Thieneman, and I even went back to some 2024 stuff to kind of paint that clear picture for me. I'm like, the same versatilities that is there with a Caleb Downs, I get that with Dillon Thieneman, but I also get a guy that if I want to actually play him as a free safety, he plays both safety spots. He plays big nickel. There's times where I believe Dan Lanning took a linebacker off the field and made him the big dime backer because he wanted to get more DBs, more corners in the actual nickel corner in the nickel spot, have Dillon Thieneman as one of those big dime backers and have him cover the tight end, have him drop off into the spots and erase the running backs out of the backfield, or just those OTB routes, those shallow crossers, the mid crossers, the over routes. Like he does such a great job of eliminating easy windows for the quarterback. And I love defensive backs, especially at the safety position, that when we're running zone, you don't get caught up in the wash. Like you keep your head on the swivel, but you pass things off like you're supposed to, and you're where you're supposed to be because, mesh concept, all that type of stuff like that. It just tries to create confusion to have your eyes going left to right. Meanwhile, somebody's sneaking backside and you don't see him and you are flat-footed, Keith, in zone. And no, I get to get easy pitch and catch and let my guy get upfield. Dillon Thieneman is not that type of safety. This guy does a little bit of everything. And I think a defensive coordinator is going to have a lot of fun deploying them in their coverages.
Yep, I agree. DP, let's do this, man. We talked about the pros, right? Let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the other side of this. Let's talk about the concerns for Dillon Thieneman, right? When we watch the film, what are some things that stood out that need to be areas of improvement for Dillon Thieneman entering the NFL? So let's discuss that coming up next.
Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. Guys, I've been going with the old reliable, the grape, that Concord grape flavor similar to grape juice or candy with the soft, rounded sweetness and that smooth, almost syrupy-like fruit profile and that consistent, straightforward taste. But I'm going to tell you what I have jumped to is the cherry, that bold cherry candy style flavor, sweet with the light tart edge, that classic red fruit profile with bright, punchy taste added, and a smooth and easy to recognize, clean, slightly tangy finish. That's what I've been jumping into, and that is my number one pick. And with 5-Hour Energy Shots, they give you a boost with zero sugar, guys. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy Shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night from early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. And you can look at the odds around your favorite team. And if they're in season, you can go ahead and go safe, go bold, and ride with the team you've been following all season long. It's your parlay, your style, and now with even more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com right now to get started. Again, that's FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to our Discord, a group chat with me, Keith, other listeners of the show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonnfldraft.supercast.com to join. The concerns when it pertains to 6 foot, even 201 pound safety out of Oregon, Keith, Dillon Thieneman. When you look at Thieneman's game from a concern standpoint, where does your number one concern lie with him?
Yeah, I think there's a difference there's a concern, and I have two things, right? I have a concern and I have an area of improvement, right? I'll start with the area of improvement. The area of improvement, I think in pure man-to-man coverage, right? I think he's going to have to get a little bit better. And I think it's more of a feeling for cushion, right? Knowing when to kind of turn and flip his hips and then jump into the hip pocket of the wide receiver, right? Like knowing when you need to keep that space and knowing when you really need to condense it, because this is a potential area where it's at the top of the route for the wide receiver and they're about to make a break, right? Like I think that there are times that he can give a little bit too much cushion, whether that's, and not necessarily bailing, right? But just falling off to his own. Like he can play that a little bit closer. And then we say like in man, just being able to understand, okay, cool. Because most of the times you're playing safety, right? You still in position where wide receivers have two-way goals, right? You're just playing from 10, 12 yards. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I'll say this. In one-on-ones, right? Watching corners do corner versus wide receivers do one-on-ones is very difficult. But if you have a high-level athlete at the slot wide receiver position, that is extremely difficult from a safety, because all you did was give that wide receiver free access and momentum coming towards you, right? So you have full speed, can run right past you, right? There's an in-breaker, there's an outbreaker, there's a whip route that can happen in front of you. There's a lot of different things. So it's a very difficult job to do as a defensive back, playing 10, 12 yards off and having to play man-to-man. But I think he can trust his speed more and then kind of close the cushion, right? Like don't have to be so quick to kind of get out of there to make sure you don't give up the deep ball. So that's the first thing. And I think that's the area of improvement. The concern part would just be his overall size, DP, if you're going to play him as strong safety a lot. And it's just him holding up, right? Being at 201 pounds and constantly banging around. And, if you're going to put him in a nickel, and we always talk about run support, that's high speed collisions, right? Like, and, having to tackle the bigger backs out there, the Derrick Henrys, right? Like Kenneth Walker is no slouch, right? There's a lot of guys that's 215, 220 pounds that come downhill at you. And not that he's going to shy away from the contact. He's going to step up every single time. It's just going to become an injury thing. Will that become wear and tear when you talk about year 3, year 4, things like that? So that's the area of concern. And then I outlaid the area of improvement.
No, I like that. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna come back to the area of improvement because I want to ask you a question off that. But I want to go give my concern. I'm a piggyback off of your last point. The size, right? So for me, I was watching the Indiana tape, the first matchup versus Indiana. Low red zone, inside the 5. Indiana's a power run team. They ran Roman Hemby right up the gut, right up the middle. And like you said, he does not shy away from tackling and making contact in terms of Dillon Thieneman. He met him in the alley, and he basically got ran through. Like, they ran him over, fell forward. It was a touchdown at the goal line. I think for him, if you're gonna fill the alley, I think his technique as well needs to improve, because he was square, but he was not. He was in a catch tackling maneuver. For those who don't know what that means, it's same thing as catch technique, where you're trying to wrap. He was more of a wrap tackler than a striker. I would have loved to seen him on the balls of his feet, and just trigger forward with the forward lean. Head cross the bow, like the way they taught us growing up, man. You know what I mean? I feel like we've gotten so far away from the fundamentals of tackling nowadays. Like, I would like to see him do that. I feel like he would have, because it wasn't like Roman Hemby was the lower guy. Like, he really wasn't. Like, Roman Hemby ran through the alley kind of high. Like, he was kind of high cut, and he lowered the shoulder a little bit. But Dillon Thieneman was not in a position where his hips could spring forward and he could recoil to be able to explode out into the tackle. So if you're going to run the alley, I think his technique needs to be better. I think you can mitigate it a little bit better off of the nickel, because you're more than likely going to be attacking from an angle and not head on. So you got like a guy trying to wide zone, right? He's not in an advantageous spot to run you over. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Or his backside, you just chasing it down. So I agree with you. I just want to see him he did get better as a tackler. I think his first 2 years, PFF had him like he missed tackles, because I think he was throwing a lot of throwing the shoulder, stuff
throwing
like
throwing his body around.
Yep. Yeah, throwing the body around. Like, you're not making form tackles. I felt like with Dan Lanning, again, shout out to Dan Lanning, because I think he kind of really helped his game a lot. I think they emphasized, hey, you got to tackle. You know what I mean? Like, you got to wrap up here in Oregon. And he did a much better job of that, where I think his missed tackle percentage was below 10% compared to up in the 12, 13, and 15 percentile range where he was 2023 and 2024 at Purdue. What I wanted to come back to on your area improvement, when you talked about just the man coverage and stuff like that, do you believe, with it being something that he needs to improve on, do you think it can limit some of the versatility early in the career, in this, like during the rookie season? Or, where a team want to play him more as a deep back safety than utilize him the way that Dan Lanning used him in Oregon?
Yeah, so let me put this in context, right? We both are talking about we like Dillon Thieneman a lot, right? And next segment, we'll talk about the draft grades and NFL comps, right? So with the ceiling being that we like him a lot and we probably have first round grades on him, is that in the context of the expectation of him being one of the better safeties in the NFL, right? And so when I talk about the area of improvement for his man-to-man coverage, I don't think it's bad, right? I think it's solid. I think he could just get a little bit better at doing it. And like I said, that's in context of the expectation of him being one of the better safeties in the entire NFL. So, and that's why I kind of outlined, my time at LSU, we watch one-on-ones. And I mean, you watch, imagine covering Justin Jefferson when you're standing 10 yards off the football. Like, what do you do with it? Right. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very difficult position to put in. And that's why I hope I was adding context to that by adding how difficult it actually is. But there's certain things I think that he can do, because in my opinion, I think at Purdue, and we talked about it, right? He played a lot of single high. He was probably the free safety. He didn't have much. He didn't have, his range was just flow sideline to sideline and tackle the football, right? And then at Oregon, it seemed like they played a decent amount of zone, right? Where he kind of was a underneath-esque type of defender. And so I just think it's reps. If I was him, I just reps. And that's why I talk about closing the cushion, getting comfortable, understanding, okay, this is when I have to turn it on. This is, expect these route combinations, XYZ, just little things like that in man-to-man coverage. So, I don't think it's something that hinders him. I just think it's something you think he can get a little bit better at.
For sure. No, I agree with that. I think, again, just like Caleb Downs, this is a guy that's a versatile chess piece. You know what I mean? And again, I think teams are going to – it's a copycat league, and teams are going to look at what Nick Ward was able to do as a strong safety / nickel for the Seattle Seahawks defense, what Brian Branch has done. We've seen all these that hybrid nickel safety is the new prototype for safeties. No, long gone are the days that we're chasing the Earl Thomas and Ed Reed. Like, you got to be able to cover in the nickel now, match it with tight ends. Safeties actually do a lot, especially considering that the NFL tries to devalue these guys.
Yeah, which is
asking them to wear so many hats.
We actually said, you know what? We're going to ask you to do more and then say that you're not really that important.
You're not that valuable. We don't really need you that high in the draft. I can't take you top 10 because you're a safety. But when you see Brock Bowers, I need you to cover Brock Bowers. When you see, Colston Lovely, I need you to cover that guy.
Also, in the slot. Let alone more offenses are putting their wide receiver ones in the slot from time to time, right? So
Derrick Henry hit that corner. I need you to take the legs out. Like, we're asking you to do all these things
and
against some
the quarterback is not sitting in the pocket anymore. Go tackle Josh Allen on the run, right? Go get Lamar Jackson. So,
but you're not that valuable. Remember, you're not that guy. You're not that guy. Remember that. You know what I mean? So it's a wild concept that the NFL has kind of really talked themselves into and taught the casual fans how to feel about positional value. That's why, guys, you listen to this show, we don't mention that much because we do not care about positional value on this show. Draft good players, draft great players. Let me get an impact player. I don't care the position, Keith. But let's get into explain the grade and the comps next, right? We're going.
That's
interesting stuff with this.
That's what we're jumping into, man. We're going to drop our grades, right? What grades do we have on Dillon Thieneman? And then we're going to bring up some NFL comps. And DPI say this was rather difficult to come with NFL comps, and it was for one key reason. And we'll talk about that coming up next.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can now buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and clear swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures, commissions, merchant, and swap firm. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Explaining the grade and giving you NFL comps for Oregon star safety, Dillon Thieneman. Keith, you said explain your grade. Then finding comps is not easy for me either. So we're gonna have to flush this out together. So go ahead and drop your grade. Let us know how you feel about Dillon Thieneman, where he is for you.
Yeah. Listen, I put him at 86. And potentially room once I finish flushing out the entire class to move up. But 86 is like he's up there with the best of the best in his class. Well, I'll say this. Not the very, very elite tier, right? Like, and I probably have 3 guys in that category, but right up there with the rest of those guys that I feel like can flat out ball, right? That I feel good about the NFL projection. That if you had to ask me that they had 10-year careers and they made Pro Bowls throughout their career, like that's why I have him. And that's that grade that I gave him as a Pro Bowl caliber football player. So I believe that if you draft Dillon Thieneman, you're drafting a high level talent. You want to go with your grade too, and then we'll flesh out the comps, or you want me to give my comp?
Yeah, no. For me, I gave him a 8.5 impact player, right on the cusp of being a Pro Bowl player. I think he's like one of the best players in his class, top 15 talent and grade for me. I think it's the stuff that he can work on. When you talk about the man cover stuff, tackling, things of that nature, whether maybe adding a little bit of weight, getting the 210, and be able to have a little bit more oomph behind your pads, more pop behind the pads, or maybe it's just truly a technique thing so that you can strike with your base and make sure that you're in a good spot to be able to bring these ball carriers down and not letting guys overpower you at the point of attack, Keith. But yeah, one of the best players in the draft, one of the best defensive backs in the draft. And again, I just don't think that there's a little bit of separation because Caleb Downs is a better tackler and I think blitzer and a little bit more physical of a player. But I got these guys a little bit closer than most people would assume.
All right, DP, on to the NFL comps, right? And I know previous of us transition to this segment, right? I said that this was difficult. And it was difficult because I had a few names, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and drop my NFL comps. One, I already kind of let the cat out the hat, or however we say it, right? The whatever out the bag. However we
get out the bag.
Yeah, whatever it goes, right? I went with Malachi Starks for one. I thought that was one in the versatility. The other one, and this was more Oregon, Dillon Thieneman, was Brian Branch. I think Purdue, Dillon Thieneman was Malachi Starks.
Yeah, I see.
I think Oregon, Dillon Thieneman is more Brian Branch. Now, the issue that I ran across was, and why the NFL comps became difficult, is because there's certain, obviously, height, weight, and athleticism metrics you're trying to hit. Both of those guys ran 4.5s, right? So they didn't run 4.3. So it was very difficult finding a safety that ran a 4.3. I'm like, okay, like that was good, right? Like that's really high level. Because you can even, try to match some guys up, and it's like, okay, this doesn't match. So I'm in. That seems like not a cop out, right? But it was just difficult to do, and I'm gonna just have to go purely off of the film, right? I think that he falls in line with the Malachi Starks, the Brian Branches, which are, you're talking about the young safeties in the NFL, some of the best to do it. I love, he tackles, in my opinion, well. He matches like Malachi, because Malachi Starks, like I said, will come up and he will hit you, right? Even though he was, people would say you kind of light. Brian Branch, as far as the zone instincts, I think he has some of that in him. So I went with those two guys, the Malachi Starks, the Brian Branch. I think he falls in that category.
No, I actually like that because it's with it being like kind of a two-part, twofold comp, it makes sense. It's like, okay, if I'm using them like Purdue, I'm getting Malachi Starks. If I use them like Oregon, I'm getting a Brian Branch type of safety. And both of those guys like projected well. Brian Branch, one of the best defensive backs and safeties. I feel like he's a little underrated at this point. People don't talk about him the way that they used to.
Because he got injured, so I think that played a part of it. Like
that's true. I forgot the injury. So yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense between those two comps. I almost want to just roll with those. To be completely honest with you, because man, this was tough. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm over here like, I'm not doing the Harrison Smith stuff, guys. We're not gonna do white safety. I'm not doing it. That's lazy. I did look at like just from a body type standpoint, things. Thought about Jevon Holland, and who was with the.
He popped up for me too. He's somebody that came to mind too.
I think he's with the Giants now. He was with the Dolphins when he came out.
Yeah.
Was he at Oregon too? I think he was.
Yeah, he's an Oregon safety. Yep.
He was an Oregon safety. So like just that versatility he brought. He ran 4.47, 6 foot, 207. Similar builds and body types and close to athletic profile as well. But yeah, I like yours better. I like that one. You know what I mean? I like that one. But no, listen, I like Jevon Holland's a good player. But if you tell me I get a blend of Brian Branch with some Malachi Starks mixed, like, listen, I don't care about positional value. I'm drafting that guy top 15, maybe top 10, depending on how the board looks. You know what I mean? If I'm the Bengals at 10, if Caleb Downs, and got to see what happens with the Caleb Downs, negate, right? With their quotations,
The
negate with their
negate.
with their smoke, there's fire sometimes. So hey, let's see what happens when you're the rechecks and all of that. But if he does slide and hey, maybe it's something was flagged or popped, and the Bengals like, nah, we want a safety, but maybe not with the knee situation. If there is a situation, hey, I can see the Bengals taking the Dillon Thieneman and utilizing him in just the way you just talked about. Utilize him as start and as Brian Branch.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, DP, make sure I have this right. But the Chiefs lost a lot of defensive backs, right? Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson. Did they lose Brian Cook? Yeah, I was about to say they lost safety Brian Cook. So they may have a hole, right? And I don't know if they'll take them as high as 9, but I think they have pick 29, also pick 29. Could they potentially move up to grab them? And then also another team that I look at is Dallas, right? They sit at pick 12 and pick 20. They need safety help. Like they need safety for a very long. It's been a long time since they've had like a really good safety sitting on the back end of the defense, and they could address the corner position, but like it's defensive backs, period. And when you talk about a versatile guy like a Dillon Thieneman, he's somebody that comes in right away and helps because he allows, because he's so versatile, he allows you to put other people in their best position, right? And help out via that way. So that was two teams I thought about. I thought about the Chiefs because they have 2 first-round picks. The Cowboys have 2 first-round picks. They both need help in the secondary.
Yeah, no, I think I've actually mocked him. I think I did a mock with our boy Ray Garvin, Ray GQ. Me and Ray did a mock on his channel probably a couple weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure I think I gave the Cowboys Ruben Bain, and no, as a matter of fact, it was on my channel. Actually, it's on at the scouting room. I did a mock right before free agency, and I gave the Cowboys Ruben Bain at 12. And then Dillon Thieneman at 20. And I'm like, you get, and I think that's a real possibility of it happening.
100%. You address the trenches and then you address the secondary, 2 of the biggest holes that the Dallas Cowboys have, right? And they've had it for a while. Like, and I know they traded for Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. I just think the Cowboys in a position where you can't have enough like defensive trench guys, right? And I like getting Ruben, not about Ruben Bain, but I like the Ruben Bain connection with the Dillon Thieneman because, like I said, it's the front end and the back end. And both of those guys play hard. They play the way that you want them.
Culture setters, man.
Culture setters. Yep, I agree. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at the Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Feel like someone in the YouTube comments, Keith, asked, can we drop our top 10 tight ends? They want to see how we rank the tight ends.
I'm with that. And we haven't done that in a while, too.
Yeah, we have not done the tight end group. I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Let's get to it. So on Monday's show, we will be ranking our top 10 tight ends for the 2026 NFL Draft. With roughly about a month away, because the draft actually kicks off April 26th. I got the date now, guys. I know what day I'm talking about. It's April 23rd. I'm sorry. Jesus. April 23rd. Still missing.
Yeah, you got to get it right, DB. Come on. You said you had it, man. You said you had it.
April 23rd is the first day, the first night 1 of the 2026 NFL Draft. So we're roughly getting close to about, a month away? You know what I mean? So, man. Well, it's coming fast, guys. It's happening fast. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.